Hello everyone, today we have new video review, and as you can see, this time we will be checking the new book. It comes from Kagero and it is part of Photo Sniper 3D series. It is dedicated to Renault FT and M1917 light tanks. As you can see, it's written by Jacek Szafranski and Samir Karmi. And in my opinion, this book should be an interesting reference guide for those who plan to build these tanks in whatever scale. It can be 135, it can be 172. Still, you will find some useful things inside. And now we have a commercial sample, let's say. It means that you will get exactly the same book if you order it from Kazimir Publishing. And now we are going to open it and check what is inside. So first of all, I would like to say that it is heavy. It is thick and heavy, and I guess there is a lot of information inside, but to be precise, there are 180 pages inside. So let's open it. And here is what we have on the first page. On the second page, we have introduction straight away, so there is no contents page. I guess it will be in the rear side, let's say somewhere. So we have here a lot of black and white photos, and I guess this book won't be about the photos only, but still we have some interesting shots. So if you would like to replicate them in the scale, it might be a good idea. We also have some cover shots. I'm not sure which museum this was taken in, but this is a walk-around session, so we have detailed shots of the real tank, which is presented in museum, and it might be handy for those who would like to do some super detailing on their models. As you can see here, for example, we have this nice casting stamp on the tank metal parts. We have also interior shots, which is quite surprising, I would say, at least for me. Here we have shots of the turret. And next we have more of those detail photos of suspension parts, of the tracks, of the drivetrain, etc, etc. And those shots might be useful also for some weathering ideas, because here you can see the real rust on those metal parts. So if you would like to replicate it on your model, this might be a perfect reference guide in order to get the more or less convincing rust finish on your tank. So here we have the first 3D image of this tank. As you can see, that's a cutaway image, let's say, so that you can understand the whole construction of this tank. Drivetrain was in the rear, driver was in the front, etc, etc. So if you let's say read at least something about this tank, it will be quite understandable for you. But here I would like to stop for a second and remind you that you can support us financially. It is done quite easily by pressing the donate button on our website, and of course you will be the one who will decide how much you will get for the new photo and video equipment. And it's done via PayPal, so it should be safe and fast. Returning to our book, I would like to say that we have here inside 24 archive photos, 132 color photos, which you saw in this walk-around session. By the way, you can see it by this green color. And then we have these 3D images. There are 132 of those images, and that's really quite impressive, because the main, I would say, advantage of those 3D, not the drawings, but pictures, is that here we get every part carefully replicated by using some history references in order to recreate how it was in reality. Note that here, for example, authors also tried to replicate some weathering on the tank, so you might do the same. You might try to do the same on your model, but of course you don't have to. The most interesting thing is that, for example, here we can see Renault FT17 Lolo, an identified unit, Western Front 1918. That's the right side of the tank, and you'll know the exact pattern of the camouflage and how to paint those nice markings. This is quite an interesting marking, by the way. Tank was named as a troop, and it's 1920. And here you can see detail images, or let's say close-ups of the suspension parts. Again, here we can get some interesting weathering ideas, because as you can see, we have here the metal surfaces exposed already on the tank because they are not covered by paint, and it might be useful material for those who, let's say, would like to get some inspiration for the weathering, for the further weathering of their model. So here we have the first tank regiment Renault FT17. I'm a bit surprised because we don't see Soviet marking option. Here we have US Marines, also quite an interesting marking, I would say, especially because of this triangle on the nose. And why I'm saying Soviet marking, because this tank, as you know, it was used by many countries. It was used by everybody from United States up to Yugoslavia, and of course USSR was also there. Even Japan, as far as I remember, was using those for their army. So that's why it is a bit surprising that we have only those markings inside. Actually, this one is quite interesting. What is this? This one is from Poland. So as you can see, we have some Polish writings on the tank. And again, we have some detailed shots of the tank from all necessary sides. So that's basically can be treated also as a advanced, I would say, profile on the tank. Why? Because we have the tank shown from all necessary sides, and that's why it will be useful for all those complex camouflages, because as you remember, typically in plastic kits we get the profiles from the sides, from the top, from the rear, from the front, and that's all. But sometimes it is easier to see it in a, let's say, 3D, so that you can understand what you have to do with this or that curve on the tank. And another interesting thing is this, because we get 3D images not only of the tank, but also of the internal elements as well. So here you can replicate weathering too, because as you can see, those are not factory clean parts or items. Those are slightly weathered parts which were actually used, or let's say somehow replicate the state of being used. And that's why it will be interesting to copy them in the scale. Also, this cutaway idea is also interesting. Of course, those fine detailing things, they would work better with 1/16 scale. I think in 1/22 scale it will be crazy to do, but maybe in 1/35 scale as well, because we all know who produces quite nice kit with interior in 1/35 scale. So you might implement some changes from these profiles. As for those walk-around photos, as you can see here, we have these museum samples which are not exactly, I would say, up to shape, because as you can see, some of elements are missing, some are even destroyed. For example, here the full frontal section is destroyed, so we can see through the tank. But it is actually an advantage for us because we can see also the drivetrain, and as you can see, we, for example, here gears are visible, which are usually hidden on the tank. Here you have some details for the driver's seat, and also you can see the thickness of the armor, which is quite interesting feature, because not any walk-around book shows those things on the photos. Here you can see the turret interior inside of the hatch, so various handles and rivets which were present on these hatch parts. Here you can also see the gun ammo rack, and these might look like small ammo rounds, but it will be interesting to replicate them in scale as well. And not the least important is this thing I wanted to show you. Just give me a second. So here we get detailed look at the suspension parts, because some modelers get a bit, let's say, confused while assembling this suspension. So here, once you look at these photos, it will be more understandable how you should assemble these suspension parts on this tank. And in my opinion, this is also a quite valuable addition to this book. So just to remind you, we have 180 pages inside, and all those pages are color printed. We have also 132 color photos, walk-around photos, and we also have 132 3D photos like this, and 24 archive photos, which are printed in black and white, as you remember they were in the beginning. So all this material will be useful for those who would like to build a Renault FT, and of course for those who would like to work on some World War I models. Still you'll find some interesting information inside. So this book is already available. Price is set at 28 British pounds. You can get it on Kazamat Publishing website. So if you want to order it, go directly there. And of course, I will be happy to hear your opinion here in the comment section below. If you like this video, press the like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I will see you in the next video review as usual. Bye.